Excellent. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our workshop, Agency and Affirmation, supporting our First Gen Trailblazers. This is one of the many events that's happening on campus for First Gen Celebration Week this week. And so I encourage you to check out the First Gen website for information about all of the events that are happening to share with students, to attend, to look into. A lot is going on campus. For today's session, we wanted to provide an opportunity to faculty, staff, and the campus community to learn more about how we can better support our first generation college students on campus. I want to begin with a quote from Stephanie Bannister, who is now the president of First Gen Forward. First Gen Forward is a national organization that recognizes and supports colleges and universities' first gen efforts. So they do this work on a national scale. The quote says, understanding that student success, in particular, first generation student success, that's not a niche investment. It's a mirror that will tell an institution how ready they are to serve all students. I want to begin with this quote because when we do this work across campus, it's important to remember that it is not one program or one person's responsibility to do this work. It is an institutional priority and a commitment that we ourselves enact on a day-to-day in our day-to-day jobs. Your presence here shows a desire to support first generation students, so thank you for your commitment to our students. We'll start with some introductions. My name is Terra Molengraff, and I am the Program Director for First Generation Initiatives at Michigan. I oversee the First Generation Student Gateway, which is a physical space and an umbrella of programs for our First Gen students. In addition to programming for First Gen students, my role aims at creating and facilitating strategic partnerships and collaborations, and assisting units, colleges, anybody on campus who is interested in starting a First Gen program. For the Gateway, and for me, this means that I support students both individually, and then I also aim to support our entire First Gen student population, which is 5,000 students on campus. My academic and professional career has focused on how colleges and universities support First Gen students from an organizational level, and it's really exciting to see all of the work that's happening in different schools and colleges across campus. I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Joseph Ballard II, he, him pronouns, and I serve as the Director of Access, Opportunity, and Student Success within Michigan Engineering. In a nutshell, my role really focuses on our access and opportunity efforts, as well as collaborating with a lot of partners within the College of Engineering and beyond around our student success efforts. And one of the programs I have the honor to lead is our First Gen Engine program, which is a program that provides coaching, programming, resources to first generation students in the College of Engineering. Similar to Terra, I believe my academic, my professional, but also my personal experience as a first generation college student has really prepared me to really pay it forward in a way to other first generation students here at Michigan. And I want to thank Terra publicly for allowing me to be her co-facilitator of this session this afternoon.
Great. Thanks for helping, Joseph. Thanks for all the work that you do in engineering. So our agenda today includes a couple of activities that will aim to engage everyone in how we think about first-gen students, and also provide an opportunity to come up with some new ideas on how to support these students. I will also share some data about our first-gen student population and how we at Michigan like to think and frame the first-gen experience. And at the end, there'll be an opportunity to learn about some resources on campus specific to first-gen students and to ask any questions. Pass it on to Joseph for our chat reflection.
So before we kick off our session today, we really want to spend the first 3 or 4 minutes of our time together, just really hearing from you all based upon this question right on the slide. Reflecting on this past year in your own experiences of working or connecting or coaching or advocating for first generation college students on campus, what is one challenge or barrier that you have heard from them this year about their experiences on campus, their needs, and just even more just overall about our first gen students? So we will spend 3 to 4 minutes for you all to drop that in the chat, or if you are comfortable to do so, you can unmute and share your response.
I'd be happy to kind of share a little bit about what I have experienced. um, in this past year. So my name is Rose, also, sorry. I started in my current role about 2 weeks ago, but before then, from January to October 20th, I was working in student financial services, um, where we interact with students, every second of every day, either on the phone, via email. Sometimes they come in person. And so just a lot of direct student contact. And with regards to changes, although it wasn't financial aid, we do get a lot of financial aid questions. And with regards to changes at the federal level with like student aid programs and specifically first gen students, like a lot of times would disclose that to me that they were first gen students, and then just talking about the challenges that were coming with so much information that was, coming at all different things and so much change. And so that was something that I really noticed, and like very specific to U of M, and like the processes are like something that might, further down the line we might be able to have a workshop about or something like that. But yeah, that was something that I have noticed.
Thank you so much, Rose. Is there anybody else that wants to unmute and share, or those that have responded in the chat, if y'all want to go a little bit more into details about your response, you can definitely do so as well. Well, I will kick it off to Tara to go to the next, to actually officially kick us off this afternoon.
Thank you all so much for what you've shared. I know that I'm seeing a lot of like understanding what's kind of happening on campus and the communities that are there, what it means to be successful. But it's also this kind of internal piece of, building confidence or even helping their families understand. So there's this piece of interactions on campus, and then there's this kind of internal stuff of students' understanding of what it means to be first gen. So let's just keep that in mind that it's both, how we support students, but it's also how they think about themselves, and how we can support them in that as well. So who is defined as first gen here at the University of Michigan? So the definition that we use at Michigan is that a first generation student is a student whose parents or guardians do not have a bachelor's degree. This includes students whose parents got some college or an associate's degree, and students who have siblings in college. I'll also add that this does not include students whose parents got degrees internationally, 4-year degrees internationally, just because we really want to focus on the students who maybe haven't had access to the same resources that somebody whose parents were able to achieve a degree outside the United States have access to. But many of our students and many of our programs are open to any student. So anybody who wants to join will benefit. But this is how we define it here. And we choose this definition, or kind of, came up with this definition because it aligns with the federal definition that is used to qualify students for federal TRIO programs. TRIO SSS programs were the first place that used the term first generation college student, because they wanted to differentiate between students who were the first in their families to attend college from students who come from low income backgrounds but aren't the first in their families to attend college. At Michigan, we use this definition because we want to focus and program around the students who have the highest need. So that way, at the end of the day, any student will benefit from the way that we program around that. So how did we get here at Michigan? This is a timeline. This is the first page of the timeline, second page coming up. But what I want to do is begin with highlighting that this advocacy work started from a student organization back in 2008. So it is 17 years of work that has led us to the place where we're at now. And that is, we're building on a legacy that the students started themselves. In the last 6 years, the university has moved forward with establishing a position supporting first-gen students specifically across campus, as well as a couple of schools and colleges. And they also established the first-gen gateway, which is that physical space on campus. These are kind of the more recent years. But since then, the establishment of those positions and the gateway, 3 of our schools and colleges have dedicated first-gen specific programs. In the last year or two, I and a group of people across campus doing first gen work have reestablished a central coordinating council that leads cross-campus visioning and strategic initiatives related to first gen. And that we've also reestablished the faculty and staff engagement opportunities. There's a form that I'll share later that anybody who's interested in learning more about the first gen initiative or participating more will have that opportunity to sign up on that form. And right now we use it to share a lot of information, but we're hoping to build working groups from that in the future. And why we share this history is because in the same way that first gen students, come here and they come from communities and have these backgrounds that support them in their future endeavors, this work doesn't happen in a vacuum. It always comes from the collective action of a dedicated group of people. So whenever we do this work, whenever we're building new programs, it's really important to honor the legacy of the work that has happened in order to ensure that the future work continues with those goals and visions in mind. So who are our first generation students? What identities do they hold? So of all University of Michigan students who are first gen, 17% of our undergraduate students are first generation college students. 21% of new transfer students are first gen, and 18% of our first year student population is first gen. This is fall 2024 data just because the numbers from fall 2023 are still kind of being confirmed. And then 16% of our new graduate students are first gen, and 16% of all graduate students are first gen. And one thing I'll say is that the 16% for graduate students is that this number reflects the data that is collected related to graduate students. But not all schools and colleges collect data about the first gen identity or if someone is first gen in their kind of graduate admissions process. So though these numbers aren't like accurate, they do give us a bit of a snapshot of what's kind of happening with graduate students on our campus. So this is this kind of shows the first gen students and their intersecting identities. And there are a couple things I want to highlight. One is that over 50% of our first gen students are students of color. 44% of our first gen students come from households with incomes of $55,000 and below. I note these 2 things specifically because we are at a predominantly white institution where the average household income is over $100,000 a year. So the identities that first-gen students hold are going to influence how they experience the college campus. The environment will influence also how they think about being first-gen and the types of challenges that they might face. Understanding our first-gen students and who they are, the backgrounds that they hold, helps us understand how the environment at the University of Michigan, our policies, our campus climate, the support structures that we provide, how these can and how these must be shaped with their needs in mind. When we create support structures, policies, initiatives around meeting the needs of first-gen students, all students on our campus benefit. This training is called Agency and Affirmation, supporting our first-gen Trailblazers, because it is a direct reflection of the mindset that we use to think about first-gen students, related to how we think about them, how we program for them, and how we think about their needs. And so what does Trailblazer mean? And, we use an asset-based perspective. So like an asset-based perspective is a focus on the skills abilities, experiences, and understanding that first-gen students bring with them. So this is in contrast to a deficit-based perspective. So we really aim to do this because we don't want to focus on what first-gen students lack in comparison to their non-first-gen peers. It gives us some information and data, especially about, where there might be gaps. But when we're talking to and building relationships with first-gen students, the asset-based perspective is really, really important. We don't ignore the challenges that the students bring with them when they come to the University of Michigan. But what this asset-based perspective recognizes is that when we name the assets that first-gen students have with them and for them, they start to internalize those messages themselves, which then makes it so that way they are more, they have a better understanding of who they are, but they feel more confident in their abilities, rather than kind of constantly reminding them the things that they may lack or that the structures that might be more difficult for them. So we really aim to do this with an asset-based perspective. I'll pass the next portion over to Joseph to talk a little bit more about tangible pieces that you can take in your roles today.
Thanks, Tara. As Tara mentioned, the emphasis on assets-based framing. So these are just some of the recommendations that we thought about on our end based on other research that we've done on the first-gen experience, but really thinking about familiarizing yourself with the Yoast model of cultural capital. Think about your programming and activities and your support services in a way that reflects the first-generation identity. Highlight the ways of that being first gen is an asset versus a deficit. Because sometimes our students feel like they're first gen, that they're feeling less than enough. Highlight the importance, the value, the asset of being first generation to your students. Host events, think about ways of posting signs that increase first gen visibility. And I'm going to mention that beyond this week. So think about some of the programs that we do year round, highlight that in your communications with students and conversations with your colleagues about the first gen work. Just really thinking about ways to highlight and increase the visibility of the first gen work and experience here at the University of Michigan. Think about ways of providing information, have conversations around collaboration, which we'll do a little bit of that in a little bit, actually, around ways to foster that collaboration around programming, information sharing, and resources. Prioritizing relationships. So really thinking about ways of making sure that your make sure your support of first generation students is visible. Not just saying I support first gen students via email or in a conversation. Show up for your students. If that means going to an event, if that means taking them to a resource that's beneficial to their success, think about ways to show up for your first generation students in a way that they know your support is beyond words. Check in with your students, connect your students to resources and/or individuals that will be helpful for them in their journey. Think about when you're meeting with students, create a way to really get to know your students, build that trust, build your rapport in a way that students know that you're a safe and brave space for them to have real conversations about their experiences as first generation students here at the University of Michigan and beyond. Number 3, which is really thinking about making the implicit explicit. Look at your websites, your marketing materials, look at your handouts for acronyms and jargons that may be unfamiliar to your first generation students. I know we all have there's a lot of acronyms here at the University of Michigan. So really thinking about ways to educate our first generation students early on about the acronyms, the jargon, and the language of the university. Think about ways that you're scheduling appointments that make it clear and concise and direct for students. Include the purpose and the topics of the meeting that you would be, and the purpose and topics that would be discussed in the meeting. And in your conversations, be explicit about your role with supporting them. Talk about, these are the ways that I can support you as an academic coach. These are the ways I can support you as a program coordinator. These are the ways I can support you as a program director or a director. These are the tangible things that I can do for you to make sure that you thrive, you have a sense of belonging, and that you're successful here at the university. As we talked about, we shared a lot of information with you all this afternoon. I know it was very quick because we're really excited for you all to have this activity where y'all are engaging in conversation with each other. Well, thank you all so much for participating in the activity. I know 20 minutes is not enough time to really flesh out a program, so I want to give y'all kudos for trying to make that happen within 20 minutes. But I went through all the rooms. It seemed like y'all were having some amazing conversations about programming, offering support services for our first gen students here at the University of Michigan. But now I'm going to pass it to you all to share a brief overview or a summary of the program idea that you had. And anybody can go. I'm not going to call on people or groups to go, but anybody can kick it off.
All right, I'll get started. Oh, Rose, go ahead. I was like, let other people talk, let other people talk. Daryl knows what I mean. Okay, so I was in a group with Daryl, who I've known forever, and I have two new friends, Anna Marr from biology, was it? Biophysics? Biophysics, and Laura Burdish from the business school. So we were looking at some kind of a peer mentoring program. They know the resources are there, but they're not comfortable using them. So we were looking at having a kickoff event with upper level students, first gen staff and faculty, share their stories, learn about each other, testimonials about their user resources and office hours to remove the stigma. And have it at a big open area so it's very visible. It doesn't seem like a hidden event. And then that from there, we'd go with near peer pairing with more senior students, small groups that checked in, had coffee. And then training would be provided for those senior students so they knew how to support their own students. And also there'd be small meetings with just the senior students so they could learn how things were going and exchange best practices. Partnerships with the first ed groups in various colleges so that we're encouraging them to take advantage of the groups that already occur, first gen faculty and staff. And then that we had 2 minutes to come up with each one bring one, but we're looking to improve that if we were to continue this activity. So
Well, thank you all so much. Tara, did you want to provide more insight or questions?
No, I mean, I don't think I have anything additional. I know that the resources I'm going to share about different things that are going on in the schools and colleges, but one of the things I did, what we're missing, or that there's kind of a lack of in a lot of spaces at Michigan is that the juniors and seniors and the support that they receive, both like, for each other and then the support that they can support or use for other students. One thing I was talking about recently was that as our economy and like the, kind of job market continues to shift, more and more first-gen students will be going to graduate school. But the opportunity to transition into graduate school, the supports around that, explaining what graduate school is for our juniors and seniors, is still like we've got some work that we could do. So I love this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Who wants to go
thanks to
next?
my team.
Rose?
Yes, I'd be happy to go. I was with Carly, Betsy, and then a group in the career. I'm so sorry. What was the exact title again? The
I think it was
career.
like the University Career Center.
Yes,
I'm not.
University Career Center. I think they might have, I don't know if they're still here, but yeah, we were able to come up with kind of a resource fair type idea that we were hoping could be accessible either virtually as well as a potential in-person cross-campus or like effort, just considering the decentralization of like so many programs and so many resources and things like that. We were hoping to kind of lean into that like decentralization with offering like a virtual option. And so our resource fair, including the pillars, we were hoping to have like a potential mentorship between graduate and undergraduate students. We had kind of a conversation about how there are programs like that that do exist now, where graduate first gen students and undergraduate first gen students are able to connect. And I think a lot of what Joseph was saying during the previous presentation about blatantly stating these things or like blatantly asking these questions is so important. I think you said making the implicit explicit, and I just really like that. And so we were hoping to really emphasize in this resource fair that it was, however, like for first gen students, especially graduate and undergraduate. But yeah, we were hoping to do something in August, considering students are able to take what they learned here and apply it to the school year rather than, have something kind of like during the very, very busy time of fall or during like other types of events that happen throughout the year. Let me check at the doc again here. Financial literacy was a big idea that we all agreed upon and like noticed patterns of throughout the university. Me coming from student financials previously, but just noticing these patterns throughout, first gen student experience. And so, yeah, we were hoping for a virtual resource fair.
I love this idea. I think it's helpful for students, especially knowing it's more accessible, right? This is a way that it can make very accessible. Maybe we can record it and put it on the website as a resource for students to go back to when they are looking for resources. They can go to the First Gen website and be like, click here, watch a video of the virtual resource fair that we had, so you can get another place where you can find resources that's a one-stop shop for students in a way versus having to do a Google search or a Chat GPT or a Google Gemini now to like, what's this resource I can go to? They can just go to our website and be like, boom, here's the resource fair. You can learn more about the resources here. So I really appreciate that idea. Thank you all so much. And last but not least, the last group, which I know was Savannah, Sharon, and Catherine.
So, we were trying to come up with a name for the group, and I think we kept floating back to something to do with Wolverine and wraparound, with the thought that, it's, building their connection to the campus wide, which is being a Wolverine, and then also empowering them to engage in some of the supportive services, peer-to-peer mentoring, resources to connect them to the alumni and also to the program or faculty and staff at the University of Michigan. But one thing that I didn't hear anybody else say that I think either Sharon or Catherine brought up was this is also an opportunity to bring in the parents too, which is really important. So there was a lot of acronyms named, and I don't remember them all. So I'm going to ask one of my other group members to step up and take it from there.
So yeah, we got ambitious. We just y'all didn't tell us not to just dream. So that's what we did. We talked about an early arrival. I would say kind of an early move-in, and we were focused on community, building community. That was the pillar that we were focused on, and so community and belonging. And so we talked about just getting people to campus before the numbers swell, and you come in and you feel more lost because there's so many people that are there. So kind of a way of coming early whenever possible. And doing in that, having a series of things to deal with resources, looking at opportunities, looking at connecting with each other, understanding the lay of the land, connecting with instructors and faculty members so that discomfort lessens some. And so a lot of different things that we know our students see or have challenges with. And of course, the other element was that of, as Savannah said, was that of alumni being involved, where they might be resources both to parents and to families and to students in terms of representing that this is what it looks like on the other side, and connecting with people who have already traveled that way and can just kind of be another resource. And so peer-to-peer resources that are alumni, as well as, of course, the faculty and staff that are here. So just a kind of a immersion into those kinds of things that really make up the experience in a major way. And so we were talking about the Office of New Student Programs, and I think that's the acronym we were talking about. And that might be a way to at least disseminate the information as transfer students are coming through orientation. Here's an opportunity for you. This is what it looks like. And these would be the benefits and advantages to it. So that way we're able to kind of connect with people on the front end so students know that that is an opportunity. What did I leave out?
I think you got everything. And the other thing that somebody else said too, which is really important, I think, in like these situations is that near to peer component of just having that connection to somebody on campus, as well as just having the resources there for them to kind of to navigate. But that near to peer, like having somebody that like opens the door and says, "You're welcome here and you belong here, and come on, I'm gonna take your hand, let's do this."
I love all these ideas, especially the early move-in component, which is we all know is the best practice in terms of transition and success of students coming in. So I really love the idea, love the fact of connecting it to resources on campus, connecting to alumni, which I think is a big thing. I know that's something that we have talked about in our coordinating councils in ways of how to engage with our alumni a little bit better. What does that look like? And we've even had conversations about parents. Like we have an event tonight with parents as a virtual event. But so how can we engage parents throughout the first gen experience to keep them abreast about what's happening and engaging with them? So I really personally enjoy all these ideas. I wish we could do all of them. Who knows? Maybe in the future we might do all of them. But these were some amazing ideas, and I just want to thank you all for really just being innovative, creative, dreaming big, which is what we wanted from this activity. So I just want to thank you all so much for indulging us in this activity.
So one final thing I want to share is both we have the faculty and staff engagement form, which many of you have probably already filled out, but I'm going to share it again and I'm going to share it with everybody who has registered for this event, but it's an opportunity to say what kind of engagement you'd like to do with the first gen program, which will help the coordinating council kind of come up with ideas for the working group. And then a very brand new resource that nobody has seen yet, but that you all will get a PDF of, and I'll share my screen right now, is a list, is first gen student resources. And this is a list of first gen specific resources. So it's not like here's CAPS, here's Wolverine Wellness. It's like these are the scholarships that are currently available for first gen students. These are the college-based resources that currently exist. School Music, Theater, and Dance doesn't have a contact right now, but I know who that person is. I just didn't. It's like a faculty that's volunteering their time, so I'm hesitant to put it on something like this yet, but it does exist. We've got research programs for first-gen students, career development, housing opportunities, and communities and student orgs. So these are all first-gen specific. Some of them have like the requirement of being first-gen. Some of them are open to all students, but focus on first gen. But I wanted to just bring this to your attention, and I will share this PDF out and share it with the broader campus community. But it is available to be shared, and it's just a good source of information for what currently exists, because I frequently get I'll get an email that'll be like, what scholarships are there? And I'm like, well, technically there are only 2 first gen scholarships, but there are other, opportunities that students might take hold of. So thank you all again for coming to this session.
Before we go, and
Yep.
sorry,
Mhm.
if you don't mind, I should have done this earlier, but I'm going to share in the chat a resource guide I put together where I'll be putting this PDF as well that I built with Katie here at Ross, and we just unveiled it this week. It includes resources for first gen students, including library resources, but also I'm inviting other people to look at this resource, share the resource, and let me know what I'm missing since I just built it. So sorry about that, but
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll make sure that everybody here gets it. Yeah, so thank you all again. And then we'll stay for a little bit for any questions that you might have, but I know that it's 1, so I want to release you back into your days. But just thank you so much for supporting our first gen students, and have a good rest of first gen celebration week.
Thank you. Hope to see you
Thanks so
soon.
much. Thank you.
Great to meet
Everybody.
everyone.